Welcome back to Favorite Home Cooked Meals. Today I am going to make a big batch of my beef and noodles dinner. This was a recipe that my grandmother had made when I was very, very young. I don't exactly know what her recipe was, but she used pasta like this. This is rotini, and I'm probably going to use both of this package and probably a quarter there. My mother once told me years and years ago that my grandmother made this often when she was growing up on the ranch, and Grandma would often use venison in place of beef or pork. So more than a month ago, I bought this Supreme Beef for Stew. It was on sale, still pretty expensive, so I've had it in the freezer ever since. It's already cut up into pretty nice pieces. So we're going to get that out and get it in a big pot. I've got my stainless steel pot here that I've had for years and years. I like to use stainless steel rather than anything else. Can't use cast iron. If I had a big enough cast iron pot, I could make it in there. But stainless steel is great. So once I've got the meat in the pot, I will season it with salt and pepper. I've just got some regular old black pepper here. I'm probably going to use about half of that. And I've got some salt here as well. I will use very little of that salt because I'm going to be cooking this in all of this beef broth. And beef broth is plenty salty enough for me. But it will require a little bit of salt. And if this packaged beef broth is not going to be quite enough, I can always make some out of the old Knorr beef flavored bouillons. I always keep these around. All right, let's get this meat into the pot and seasoned and get it sauteing up, because I got probably close to 2 hours before this will be ready for pasta. Okay, finally, I've been cooking my pot of beef here for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it's finally starting to fall apart. It may not look like it, but it's starting to fall apart a little bit. These pieces were really too big. They should have been cut up smaller, but I just threw them in there anyway. So the smaller the pieces, the less time it will take. So I've added 2 bouillon cubes to it and more water, but I think it's right about where I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and put that package in, and we'll see where it's at. Okay, before you add your pasta, which I'm just about ready to do, it's important that this is boiling pretty hard, because as soon as I pour this pasta in, it's going to start cooling right down, and we don't want it to cool down too much. So now we'll start stirring it in there. We're not going to cook this very long. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this and put the rest of this bag in here. We got it turned up full blast. So we're just going to sit here and stir it, and then once it comes to a boil, I'm going to shut this off and just let it sit, because the water will stay hot. All the water's got to do is be boiling, the temperature of boiling, in order for the pasta to cook, and we're just right there on the very edge of that temperature. But we want it just to come up to a boil. As you can see, there's much more liquid than there is ingredient in there, and that's what we want, because as that pasta starts to cook, it's going to swell up bigger, and it's eventually going to swell up big enough that it will no longer be in the water. So kind of a fine line. It takes some getting used to, cooking a pot like this, just knowing where you're at. And if it's not perfect, it's fine. So we want this just to be al dente. We got a ways to go on that. By the time it gets up to boiling, we can stop stirring it, turn it off, and it will be fine. Okay, we are up to boiling temperature. We can actually turn this off and even move it off the burner, because that is going to stay that boiling temperature. And as I said, we want this to be pretty al dente, which is still pretty firm. And it's going to be sitting in all this water, so it's just going to continue to swell up at a much slower rate than if it were in cold water. So anyway, there we go. That is our pot of stew. So I would say about 10 minutes. We'll come back and look at this in just about 10 minutes, and you'll notice quite a difference in the size of that pasta. All right. Okay, it's been just about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go look at my dinner over there. It should be just about right. A lot of times in the past, something that would be good that would go with this, there'd be a lot of things that would go with it. You could add a lot of different things to this particular recipe, but the one thing that I always enjoyed with it was cornbread. I make a really good cornbread that I actually served in the restaurant that I worked in the last time. I made a savory cornbread, sweet cornbread, but the savory part of it was, I'm kind of tired. I'm pretty worn out after my hike along the railroad tracks today up at where the old steam engine was at. I'm gonna sleep good tonight, I think. But anyway, I was saying, something that I would eat with this quite a lot and have in the past is my savory cornbread. A sweet cornbread with, the savory part is going to be green onions, Parmesan cheese, and what else? Chives. I'm really too tired to be doing this, but anyway, that would go delicious with this particular meal. But I'm not making cornbread. I've kind of decided that I don't need that. I'm fat enough as it is. I don't need to add cornbread to it, even though I would really like it. Well, let's go have a look at it. That is just perfect. All right, it is time. I'm going to fill up this thing, and this is going to go in the freezer. I'm also going to put a bunch of it in here because this is what I'm going to reheat every day. I'm going to be eating this pretty much all this week, and then I will portion myself up a nice big bowl of that for my dinner tonight. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.